Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. If you haven't seen a Hot Take before, well, it's where a few friends get in the basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a game, and that game is Resident Evil Village. My name is Anthony the Gooch Ragucci, and here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
We're back, fuckers.
We are indeed back, you fuckers. We're, again, going to be talking about Resident Evil Village. Again, Trio played this one, beat this one. I have not played this one or beat this one yet, but I will eventually. I kind of know what happens in the end.
Got all the beats, yeah.
We will be talking about spoilers. But Trio, what did you think of Resident Evil's latest outing?
I had a really good time, for the most part. I think there are some areas where it gets a little choppy for me. But overall, I enjoyed most of my time in this game. Ambiance-wise, it's probably one of the coolest games I've played in a while. Just in the way of like where you're going through all these different environments and like just the graphics and everything, seeing everything shimmer off every surface. You're in this just dank, disgusting dungeon. Then you're out in the village. And then you're in this crazy fucking factory. Then you're also in this swamp bayou area. So there's a big amount of, or a good amount of diversity in that respect. I really kind of didn't and I think this was a big theme for everyone. I didn't expect how much broader this game would be aside from the mansion that we see with Lady Dimitrescu. I didn't realize like we'd be actually, I mean, I guess it makes sense. The game is called Village. So most of the game is being played throughout the village. But once again, you're playing as Ethan Winters. It is after the events of Resident Evil 7 where he escaped the swamps of Louisiana with his family. And out of nowhere, fucking Chris Redfield just comes in and kills Mia and takes your baby. And I guess takes you and your baby. And while you are on your way to wherever you're supposed to be going, the truck flips and you're happen to be near the village. The old fun village.
The village.
And
the titular village.
Some shit ensues from there. It's interesting. So you're dealing with these five of Lady Dimitrescu, or of
Heisenberg, Dimitrescu, the Italian doll person, the swamp guy. 4.
Okay, there's not one more than that?
No, I don't
No,
think
you're
so.
right. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, the 4 of them. So you're basically making your way through these 4 mini. They're called Miranda's children. Miranda, who is leading this village, who seems to be some type of mystical witch or something, and all of a sudden shit has seemed to go down. All of a sudden they seem to be living in this village pretty comfortably for a while, with like Miranda kind of lording over everything. It's very old-timey. They don't really have much communication with the outside world, but then all of a sudden the monsters start going insane again, and you run into all these different really interesting and cool, I gotta say, monster designs in this, because that was one of my major gripes with 7, was you were just dealing with the molded.
The big mold.
The molded, and they
guys.
were just like big black like just trash monsters, basically. And I didn't find them to be incredibly scary. They were definitely unnerving, but like compared to these,
you got werewolves. Big titty vampire ladies.
You got zombies with fucking scythes, or you got like like you got all these different types of enemies, big titty MILF vampires, all of that. And I think they do a really great job with that. Like, and even just the sound design for all of them. Like you hear one, like it's tough to
you just made.
Like it's just like you can't recreate that feeling of like, it doesn't, like you know the sound, like you're not getting scared by a sound out of nowhere, but you just hear like just the sound of them just near, you're like, where the fuck are they? And
like that.
Yeah. And just like weird, just like gurglings, and I felt like every monster, like you could know what monster you're kind of getting up to by just hearing like what's going on. Like if you hear them run around, like if you hear a lichen, it sounds like a crazy fuck, and literally just like a guy just going insane.
Yeah, it sounds like a crazy fuck.
He does. He sounds like a crazy fuck. I thought the lichens were very interesting, but it seems like they are all, you don't really, I guess you do kind of get an answer to this, but it seems like they are all like variants of like, they seem like zombies, like, but they don't even mention, I don't think it's really a spoiler, they don't even mention the T-virus in this entire game. I know
there's a room where they talk about Mother Miranda, well, this is a big spoiler, they talk about Mother Miranda being apprenticed to Spencer?
Okay.
Did you see all those?
I know there's a whole room where you see her making, like, I guess it was her first experiment room.
Right.
Where she's
It's
kind of
Evelyn,
making
I'm pretty sure. They
Yeah.
talk about Evelyn. Yeah.
they do, yeah.
And like the progenitor virus, which is Resident Evil 0. And there's three main people who like started Umbrella. It's Spencer, it's the dude from 0, and then the dude from Code Veronica.
Interesting.
Yeah, so and then they expositate on these people. Is that even a word? Expositate?
Exposit, I think.
Exposit? Yeah.
Expositate. I
Thanks.
like expositate.
They exposit on these people in some of the spin-off games, but Spencer is obviously like he's the big Umbrella dude.
Sure.
He's the face of Umbrella. And I think Mother Miranda has something to do with that. So this is all kind of stemming
It's all
off
kind of coming back from
off
that.
of
Yeah.
that like original, like, you know, the old heads
game,
of
yeah.
Umbrella, and like not anything that's really going on now, but like you're seeing the after effects of like this is the research I was doing. I wish I could remember
It was. I know
their
the
names.
whole room you go through, you do see like how she's like, oh, I tried this
Marcus
experiment on this.
something from 0.
But yeah, there's the gunplay is pretty good in this. I like that they kept the first person view a lot.
Okay.
I thought I just think first person views in horror games you can't beat for the most part.
I do like
I think they really make
the
you
third
feel like
person
you're
in RE2 and
and like
some
don't
of
be
the
wrong, I think those are good, but I
remake.
think it doesn't make me as scared for some because I feel
Sure.
like I am with the character, whereas when you're playing in first person is like sure you're Ethan Winters, but you feel like you're really kind of in the hot seat with him. Whereas like I don't know, when it comes to third person horror games for me, it doesn't like get me as much because I feel like you just have a much better view of what's going on around you. But yeah, I think that was a great pull. I love the Baron a lot, the merchant. He was really fun to kind of interact with throughout. You
So
definitely
that's
interact
a big
with a lot.
Resident Evil 4 callback where like the merchant in Resident Evil 4. What are you buying?
Yeah.
What are you selling?
What he says something like that in the
Yeah,
he's like,
that-
"What are you buying?" Oh, sorry, that was something my old friend used to say or
yeah,
something
that's
like
a
that.
reference to 4. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's a very cool, interesting character to see throughout. You see a lot more people in this game in the way of like you're actually interacting.
like villagers?
Yeah,
I know in
and,
the
like,
beginning.
I know at the
there's-
beginning
there's
especially, for sure.
There's a lot of villagers.
But they kind of get taken out throughout, and Ethan's just
a meme.
he's just taking it like a champ. Like he's not
hands.
he's not even freaked out by anything. That part where he gets his hand chopped off, he's like, "No, fuck." Basically, like he barely even.
I mean, he,
and I
he
kind
did
of
already
like it.
have an issue where he reattached his foot
like leg,
and, and his hand,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
And like so,
he's
but
already
it
been
is
through the ringer.
But it is funny. Like I just love the idea of him just being like, and I did like it. It's maybe memeable by the end, but he's just like, you run into this big fucking propeller man, and he's just like, get the fuck out of my way. Like I love like how
Yeah,
he's
get
just
out of
so
my
done.
way.
He's like, I'm so fucking sick of this shit. Yeah, but like I said, monster design was killer. It was truly like, it was creepy. It was, you didn't want to run into these people in a dark alley, but by the end, I told you this, it does, like, we hit like 2 or 3 spots where it becomes super Doom-y. Like, you literally get into like these rooms where it's like a Doom
And then
area
Rip
where
and
you have
Tear
to,
by Mick Gordon comes
Starts
on
playing-
for the Doom
yeah.
Trial track. You're like, what game is this?
especially after the third, once you start getting to Heisenberg's things. Like that's when I felt like it really was kind of turning into like super action heavy because you were
Yeah,
getting
that
getting all these
factory
stunts.
part. Again, I haven't played it, but I've
But it's not. But I will
I've
say,
seen a
once you
lot
get
about
into
this game.
like, it's more before you get to the factory. Like you're
Okay.
going through all these lichen like areas, you're taking out a bunch of them. But like once you get into the factory, I feel like it's much more of the speed that it was before, and it's like these kind of close hallways where you're dealing with these enemies, and the ones in there are very interesting looking. There's like these weird, like they're weird, like mechanical, like amalgamations of like zombies with like chainsaw hands and like big, like it's very interesting and cool and creepy as fuck. One thing I didn't love is that and I mentioned this to you before, I think the flashlight's scripted. So you can't turn it on whenever you want, which I kind of get to a degree, but I was a little annoyed. And it was funny, I wasn't like, for the beginning, probably first segment of this game, I wasn't super afraid like I feel like I'm in most horror games. I wasn't like that creepy, but then I kid you not, I'm in this house.
I know
and
you.
you get to the doll
baby.
lady. Yeah, the doll lady.
I know
And
this.
and like you're in this like super creepy basement and you're just making your way through and I'm like,
Big baby.
hold on,
Big,
not even before we
large
even get
babe.
to that. I'm like, you get to this area and I'm like, man, I'm just glad I'm like, this is creepy, but I got guns, I'm good. And I kid you not, a second later, the lights shut off in the game, come back on, and your weapons are gone. And I'm like, you motherfuckers. So, like, you're trying to figure out this puzzle with, like, this weird mannequin in front of you, and you're trying to figure out how to get out of the basement.
You streamed some of that right here on twitch.tv/DelcoNerdNetwork.
Which I do. I want to stream some more, for sure. So that will be coming soon.
And I'm actually trying to do the same.
So, yeah, you guys might see more of that from us definitely soon, but I'm like, you get the tape or the key that you need to get out of the basement, and the lights all go off, and you turn the corner, and all of a sudden there's just this big fucking fetus crawling on the ground after you, and it's one of the most disturbing things I've seen again. Like, that truly, not even disturbing. It freaked me the fuck out, and all you can do is run, and you just hear it going like in the hallways
crying
and stuff. It's so creepy.
Yeah, I saw that part. Someone on stream go through it, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
I think that's definitely probably the scariest thing in these games in the past 2 games. Like, the really truly like most scared I've been.
Back when I said Big Baby, I was gonna make a reference to Toy Story 3 and Big Baby from Toy Story 3.
Big Baby, Jesus Christ!
What a character! I don't know why Big Baby's always been like, yeah, I like Big Baby from Toy Story.
I love Big Baby. He's the best.
Yeah, next to Lotso and
all those guys.
Oh, what a crew!
The crew.
What
it's
a
the
reference.
crew.
Anyway,
I thought the boss fights were good for the most part. I didn't think they were too insane. There was one that kind of goes a little crazy with Heisenberg, and you're kind of in this whole like metal contraption, which I thought was still fun. But again, I think they definitely kind of doubled down more towards the action-oriented in this one to a degree.
which I think is a
bit
slippery
sad.
slope,
Like, that's
because
the
they
thing.
did this exact same thing with Resident Evil back in the day. 3 from 2 to 3, 3 was more action-oriented than 2, and then 4 was way more more action-oriented than 3, and then 5, 6 are not they're third-person shooters.
Sure,
like Resident Evil games weren't that, and I'm like, I kind of since I'm playing through the series, so that's why I didn't get Village. I'm still playing through the series, so I decided to just like I'm like, the game's new, but like I'm gonna keep with my order, and I should be caught up hopefully for the next RE game or whatever fucking remake they decide to do, if they remake Resident Evil 4. I hope they realize that they got too action oriented, because I feel like if you compare 7 and 8, I think everyone is picking 7.
I'm very mixed, I will say.
Okay.
Like, because I really do love the setting of Village a lot more.
More
I felt
than
like,
the Bayou.
I felt like there was just a lot more variety going on. The enemy types were a lot more fun to deal with, and I felt like most of the game is not that action oriented. Whereas in that end, it does kind of pick up, but then it kind of steps back again, which is weird. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. This has made me want to replay 7. I think I'm actually going to
Madhouse difficulty trio.
I might try it. You know what? I did try that actually one time. I got stuck on the last boss. I couldn't beat it. That's right. I did. I got there's a part where you get to like. Have you watched that through it all, or do you know?
Yeah. No,
when
actually,
you get to Jack.
is the last boss Jack?
It might not be the exact. It's
I
before
don't
you get
know
on
the
the
last
boat.
boss,
It's I think the last time you fight Jack, when he's like the big
Yeah,
weird like
blob.
mold monster.
Yeah.
And I just could not beat it. Like, I
Okay.
just kept dying. So I don't know. I might go back and maybe try and finish that off. But even this, I think I'm gonna replay again, and I'm very interested to kind of go through and see maybe even how fast I could get
Did
through.
you
or
try out
something
the
like
mercenaries mode?
that. No, not yet. I forgot that's even in there, to be honest. So that's
It's like a score attack thing.
Yeah.
From what I understand,
And
it's been in other games.
There is the one part where you turn into Chris Redfield for a bit.
Yeah. How'd you like that?
Thought it was interesting. It's definitely like a different style of like that's like full army. Like he comes equipped with his like automatic fucking gun and like his shotguns and 5 grenades. And
I was kind of like I was watching. Shout out to 3Dog. I was watching 3Dog stream, and he's a streamer that I watch, and he was playing it, and I'm watching. I'm like, huh. It's like, this is interesting. I was like, I don't think I expected.
They do have a
to
DLC
jump-
like that in
Yeah,
Resident Evil 7.
No heroes, no
Yeah,
survivor,
yeah, something like
no
that.
more heroes. I
Yeah.
don't know, something like that. Yeah, like, and I'm kind of like, well, like, I'm like, what are we? I'm like, who? And I'm sitting here, and I'm me being like, I like the Resident Evil lore, and from a lore perspective, I'm like, who the fuck is Chris with right now? Like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, are these like? What
I
if
thought
it's,
it was Umbrella that he's with.
he's with Blue Umbrella. He's with a like essentially a counter umbrella group.
So
they're like
who is that? So is that who Umbrella? When they were saying like the BBRP or something is
the
sending
BSAA?
Yeah, what's that?
That is a counter bioterrorist group. Like,
Okay.
A counter bioterrorist group. Yes, they're not terrorists. They're countering bioterrorism. Umbrella.
Because they were like
They're formed after the Raccoon City events. Chris joins them. Claire, like the whole shebang. They all get involved in the BSAA.
Because they said they were like they didn't drop off people. They dropped off more bioweapons, and it looked like a classic, like Resident Evil zombie.
Yeah,
like so.
I
was
remember
like
that
interesting.
dialogue.
Like it was
and
interesting.
I'm just kind of like me not being like. Super
Again, it
caught
didn't
up,
read
and I'm
that
like,
much to. Yeah, I was like, what is that?
No, it made sense
Well,
to me,
to me,
but
I
I'm
should say,
just
yeah.
like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, because like I don't know too much about Blue Umbrella. Like I'm pretty sure Chris is part of Blue Umbrella in 7 in that DLC.
Interesting. I don't know. I can't remember. I think I played it. But
I'm really hyped to get to that point in the game. I'm hyped to play every Resident
Which
Evil
one are you
game.
on?
Revelations 1. So after
Where's that in?
Revelations 1, so my playthrough order was 1, 2, 3, 0, which is 0's before 1. Code Veronica, which is after 3.
Okay.
Resident Evil Revelations 1 is before 4. Then 4, Revelations 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm pretty sure.
So we are at the latest
Insert
part of the timeline
movies
in 8.
and
Yeah.
TV shows and where they are.
I'm excited for that live action one.
It's
Like
a-
a real,
oh,
like the one with
The
with Robbie Amell and stuff like that. Yeah.
the
The Netflix. Is it Netflix?
the animated one is out.
Yeah,
And
but
I've
they're
heard
doing a
I've
lot-
heard some okay things and we'll get to chat in a sec. Thank you for watching live DelcoNerdNetwork.com. As we get to it, somebody commented on sort of the end, but we'll get there in a sec. But yeah, I kind of like again. I don't know what the Resident Evil lore does for you, especially with the ending. But I kind of like all that
It
stuff.
definitely went a little bit in the
Yeah.
way of not that I didn't care.
I mean, obviously
but I
you
just
knew
didn't
Chris
really
Redfield,
I knew
especially
Chris
since this is the
Redfield,
beginning
and
of
I
the
knew
game.
like there was. It made sense to me enough. It wasn't like making me go nuts, unfortunately, but I still thought it was a very interesting and cool ending. And I mean, we make
What do you think of the spoilers for the end? What do you think about like the revelation with Ethan?
So I was a tad bit confused. So the idea was he was killed when he first got to Louisiana.
Yeah.
And the mold
took him over
and saved him almost.
Yeah,
So
so
he
he
is still
turned him
that-
into a molded.
Yeah, but he doesn't even but he's like the most sentient mold. Like he is like
Again, as somebody who like watched the end, still doesn't know exactly all the lore, I think you're right.
so and that seems to be why he can reattach his limbs like that and stuff.
Which makes a lot
It
of
makes
sense.
total sense. Now
It's
that
like
he's
why
just like
why can't Ethan just fucking put his hands back on?
I just assumed it was some weird magical medicine that could do that. But no, that makes more sense now that he is the perfect molded, almost the one that it's like because the molded came from the T virus, right? Or was it like I can't?
I think
because it came from Evelyn, right? She was the
Yes.
thing that starts, and she was like the original whole like carrier. I think, right?
I guess I'm not there
Yeah,
yet.
it's
I
a
don't
bit
know the
confusing.
nuanced details of it. Just
But
yet.
I didn't explore quite everything, which kind of makes me sad. So I think I'm gonna go back and do one good now that I know what I'm doing, now that I know kind of how the whole game goes through, I might go back and try and get like a really good playthrough.
What did you think about like the epilogue ending with Rose?
I thought it was interesting. So they did I guess like a 10-year time jump, right?
Yeah.
Like at least like 15 years maybe even, because she's like
Yeah.
a baby in that, and then
Yeah.
she's like
She is a baby.
she looks like 15 to like 20 something in there, like I would assume.
Yeah.
So, and I like kind of how at the end they were like, and so ends the father's story or stuff like that. It is interesting how they never, like, I know they showed you his face out, like, but
So
they never,
weird.
like, I don't know why they didn't, I guess maybe the idea was
Maybe
that they
because-
wanted to feel like it's you, almost,
Right.
like the way kind of Reach
Even though
does
they
it with the
name
rookie.
him.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like,
You mean ODST? Well, both
well,
technically.
yeah.
Yeah, Noble 6 is still
Yeah,
faceless.
well, exactly. Yeah, he's not the rookie in that technically, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. So I'm assuming 9 is
So Mr. Pong Young says in chat, Resident Evil 9 is totally going to be a shooter where you play as Rose with superpowers. And I'm kind of like, are we gonna make a 10-year jump? And now is all our classic characters gonna be old as dirt or some shit? Because like it's still. I think it's been 10 years since Raccoon City. No, the game takes place in current day. Raccoon City's 98, so it's like 15 years ish after that. Are we gonna do like another time jump? And it's kind of like, and I'm kind of like, as a lore fan, it's like I kind of hope they integrate some of these characters back in they haven't done in a while. Billy from Zero has only been used once. Like some of the old Star agents, Rebecca Chambers, like, you know, Jill, all those people. It's like, what's going on with them? I kind of want as a fan, I kind of want to see them more in it. I'm like, I'm not sure if exactly it's like, okay, like now we have a new protagonist put in. It's like, are we now catapulting off of that? Are we going to play as Rose?
It is interesting that we only played for Ethan for 2 games, right? He was introduced in 7.
Yes, that whole plot line is
That's
new
what I thought,
as of 7.
And 7 was kind of like not a reboot, but like a kind of a kind of big reintroduction back into the series for Capcom, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the last one to come out before that then? 5 or 6? I guess it would have been 6, obviously.
Yeah, with like
numbers.
all of them, and it's like Jake Wesker and fucking Ada Wong, and they're all in that.
I thought you just said Anal Wong. I'm like, what?
Ada.
But
Big
yeah,
A.
man, overall, I think it's a really fun time, and I think while it kind of dips and dives through the horror a little bit, like in the way of like how scared I was.
So Capcom's on record saying they toned down the horror for this one based on feedback from.
And I'm not gonna
7.
like 7 was. It's weird. The one part in 8 is scarier than a lot of 7, but a lot of 7 is more scary than most of this, I think.
I'm trying to think. 2 is pretty scary. 1 is Resident Evil 1 is like 1 and 2 are my favorite so far out of my series playthrough.
I will. Did you play the remake of 2?
Yes, I didn't play the original 2.
So okay.
So like 3,
2 is so good.
2 I played after, and 3 was like, well, it kind of filled into my timeline.
No, that works.
Because somebody was like, don't start with 0. I was talking to, do you know Britt Brocker on Twitter? She's part of What's Good Games.
Not really, no.
Okay, so she's a big Resident Evil. She actually hosted the Resident Evil 8 stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
Her, yeah.
Okay.
So I asked her on Twitter. I was like, before when I wanted to start the RE playthrough, I was like, should I start with 0 because it's the first game in the series, or should I?
Yeah.
She's like, start with 1. So I played the original 3, and then I played 0 because it's like those 3 games are kind of all like together. And then 0, it being together, but like it still bases itself off the knowledge that Resident
what's
Evil
happening.
1.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
It doesn't
like really fill you in. Like
right, and I've never played
yeah.
them, so it's not like
no, that's a good idea.
where if I knew before, and this is like maybe a second playthrough, that's a different story.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I'm excited to get to this game whenever.
No, and I think again, aesthetically and narratively, I think the narrative's very strong, and I think like the reason for what Ethan's doing and the idea that's propelling you through the environment is great. And I think there's a lot to hold on to, and I got a bit of a tearjerker from Ethan at the end when he's talking to, he's like, "Be good, Rosemary," and all that. Like I felt connected to these characters, and even with someone who isn't, you never see their face, like Ethan. Like I felt for him, and I thought that's not easy to do. So I got to give them some props on that. Just overall, I think it's a very cool. It really kind of reminds me of. I don't know if this is good. What are those arcade games in like that wouldn't be in Dave and Buster's? Was it like not Haunted Mansion?
House of the Dead?
And like some ways of like just that very like just so many different like types of zombies and stuff going at you, and you're dealing with all these really interesting enemy types. That was really my favorite part of this. I keep bringing up the enemy types of just seeing these really fantastical different like creepy monsters that are just flying around and you don't know where they came from. And I don't know if they necessarily do an amazing job of explaining like why where Miranda came from. Like, so obviously, like, so you were saying she is like, it did kind of go over my head.
She's one of those like OG founders of Umbrella,
and she was infected with the T virus, or is she how is she controlling the megamycete, which is like this thing that happened to just be growing there?
I don't know, dude.
So that's
this is the nuanced detail I don't know watching a stream that I need to play the game.
But even like playing the game, I felt like I was still even a little bit confused.
But I know more about the lore than you do.
You would be able to connect. I might look up some like explainer videos honestly after this.
Yeah.
I kind of
like you'll find out. It's like, okay, like Umbrella was founded by Marcus. What the fuck's his name? Like Johnson. It begins with a J or some shit. And then yeah, like why am I the names? They're just totally escaping me. But obviously, Oswald Spencer is the main dude.
Sure.
I think he's in some of the other games. But yeah, it's like there's so much lore there, and it like really doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't.
But like a lot of people say that it's like I don't play RE for the story. I'm like I don't know. I kind of like.
I think there's some
lore.
cool,
It's
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think this one again. I think this does a great job of like, you're in the story with Ethan Winters. You get a very satisfying conclusion to that story, which I will give them point. Like, whereas more of the greater world lore building things kind of went over my head a tad.
Yeah,
I felt like
I think at this point though
Ethan was good.
they're pretty in deep in a franchise, and it either is going to make sense or it's not.
Yeah. And if you want to dig into it more, luckily there's 1,000 hours of probably content out there to watch on it. So
Yeah.
if you really care. But I'm trying to think of other stuff that I missed. The weapons were interesting. Again, it's like interesting. Like you start out with this pistol, then by the end you can get a machine gun. And I'm like, which is like
Standard.
fine. Yeah, it's but again, like I never felt like you do kind of feel almost a tad overpowered by the end of this. Whereas like Resident Evil 7, I did still feel like by the end that I was like, I'm just trying to get through this. Like I have 4 bullets in my 2 guns. And I can't find any more, and I really gotta like kind of watch my shit. But I did get to some parts where I was running out of things, and it definitely does still kind of make you inventory manage and all that stuff. But I don't think it's too egregious. Overall, though, play Resident Evil 8, play Village. I think I'm still now curious what the IX is going to be in the next Resident Evil title.
How's it gonna fit into the
That's what I'm
title?
saying. Like, so unless they just go back to Resident Evil 9, blah blah blah. I do kind of like how they've integrated them into the title.
The 7 was barely 7, right?
Yeah, well, it was
Like, it's Resident Evil Biohazard.
Well, yeah, but then the 7 was
is,
in
I know,
Resident
I know,
Evil. Yeah,
I know.
Come on, Gooch.
I know.
But again, it's a bit cheating because they're making the L and I. So, good on them. I think you should play Resident Evil 7 without a doubt. I'm sorry, Resident Evil 8, but also Resident Evil 7. I think there's actually a sale going on for that too right now. I just noticed a Capcom sale. So scoop that shit up. Do it. Otherwise, Gooch, I don't think I've really missed anything. Is there anything else in the chat at all?
Mr. Pongang says, Resident Evil 6 IX. There you go.
That's pretty good. I like that. Resident Evil. just
Wait, is
absolutely
this Resident Evil? Is it Resident Evil 6
or 10?
No,
Yeah, it's Resident Evil
9.
10. Yeah, just befuddle everyone with that name. That would be amazing. Jesus. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us live. If you've been with us on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we very much appreciate it. You can find this podcast everywhere podcasts are found. Just search our name, Delco Nerd Network. You can find us on the Facebook and on all the social media pages. Just search Delco at Delco Nerds, and we are Delco Nerd Network, our page on Facebook. We have a nice Discord channel where we sometimes discuss Resident Evil, but there's a bunch of other stuff. A lot of fun, nice people there. You can find all this website information on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can email us, DelcoNerds@gmail.com, with some comments, questions, or concerns. And for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.